Hi, my friends. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, your host, and also an indie author. I'm thrilled you're joining me today for another fun interview with a passionate author. We're going to kick off this show with an exciting reading, so let's get started.
This is Robb Hiller, and I'm the CEO of Performance Solutions and a cancer thriver. So when I was looking at putting together my story, which happened when I came upon a deadly pain in my stomach, then went and visited a number of doctors and eventually went to Mayo Clinic. The metamorphosis of this story is just real simple. They came up with and diagnosed 3 deadly cancers at Mayo Clinic, and from there, my life changed. So I'll read a little bit from chapter 1, which is Hope is Here When Adversity Walks Through the Door. Robb, a familiar voice called my name in a grocery store. I can't believe you're here. I smiled as Tommy excitedly waved both arms at me. Well, I replied, you can't believe how glad I am to be here. It's wonderful to see you. Well, you see, for years, Tommy and I had been on and off basketball buddies. Now he grabbed me in the very public bear hug. When Tommy and I had last crossed paths 6 months prior, he concluded I didn't have long to live. You were in tough shape then, Tommy explained. You look so much better now. Our brief exchange reminded me of how even our most casual relationships can be profound. Running into Tommy caused gratitude to well up inside me for the progress I had experienced in my battle against cancer. And I felt renewed joy at having a second chance to live. As the founder and CEO of a nationally recognized consulting firm, I had long helped leaders and organizations across the country identify, attract, and develop talent. I'm a certified behavioral analyst, results coach, and talent expert, and I've evaluated about 25,000 people. Recently was recognized as one of the top consultants in the United States with a Bill Bonstetter Lifetime Achievement Award. But more than these accomplishments, the greatest validation of my work has been the transformation I've seen in people that have had adversity and they found their true purpose and broken through to a better life. There was power behind my work, and over the years I had discovered an astonishingly effective method to help people get unstuck, challenges, and dramatically change. Yet, when adversity struck close to home, that approach, indeed, my whole outlook on life to succeed was severely challenged. 9 months before I had run into Tommy at the grocery store aisle, I awoke to a beautiful sunny Thursday, was looking forward to exercising at my usual athletic club, a mix of working out inside and walking around the lake. And the drive to the club made me smile. After long months of being cold in Minnesota, seeing green grass was like thrilling for me. Golf season was almost here. After a few minutes on the treadmill and then weightlifting, I dropped to the ground and began doing planks, supporting myself on my elbows and holding my body in a rigid, straight back pose. Almost immediately, pain jabbed my abdomen like a hard punch in the stomach. 5 months later, I tried again with the same result. What's going on? I thought. I made an appointment with a doctor, and after checking me over the next day, he suspected a hernia. They did the CAT scan. The day after the appointment, I was in a tube for the scan and feeling nervous, anxious, as you would expect. A few hours later, I was swiveling in my desk chair and enjoying the view of the beautiful wetlands out our backyard. When the cell phone rang, it was my doctor. He didn't pause for niceties. He just said, "You have a large mass in your abdomen. It's definitely cancer, some type of lymphoma. We need to have you come get a biopsy." I leaned back in my chair in shock. I've known for 3 years I had chronic lymphocytic leukemia, but with the incurable cancer in its beginning stages, I thought, well, they're just going to keep an eye on it. Now I was hearing I had a second cancer. So I underwent a tissue and bone marrow biopsy. The needle looked big enough to go completely through any part of my body. I had neck surgery to remove cancerous lymph nodes and then followed with a PET scan. Within a couple weeks, I was in Dr. Parik's office staring at the colorful PET images of my insides at Mayo Clinic. They showed a mass of bright red near my esophagus and stomach and throughout my insides. I knew red wasn't good. The doctor's words went beyond my worst fears. He says, "You know, you have leukemia. The scan shows you have two other kinds of cancer. The new unwelcome invaders were diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, an aggressive form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and follicular lymphoma, another type of Hodgkin's. We'll begin treating the large B-cell right away. We should be able to help you with that. As you know, there's no cure for your leukemia, and I'm sorry, there's also no cure for follicular lymphoma." On the top of the incurable cancer we had been monitoring, I had not just one cancer, but two. It looks like I got lucky, I said, as I looked at Dr. Preek. I got the trifecta. 3 deadly cancers were growing inside me. As my wife and I exchanged glances, tears filled our eyes. How was this possible? And that launches the beginning of the first chapter. And of course, what we practiced and I practiced is the power of 3, which is what I had developed for 25 years and taught to thousands of people. It was a simple method to learn to overcome anything that comes your way. And now I was the one that had to do it. So therein ends the short reading of the beginning of the book.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. Today, it's very passionate and it's very moving, and I'm sitting here in tears. And if you're not getting teary-eyed with me, my friends, is going to be that episode. So I have the honor of having the fabulous Mr. Robb with us. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great today, I'll tell you that. It's great to be alive. For those who are listening, I would guess that everyone knows someone that has had cancer or who is going through it right now, and probably in the future, unfortunately, will have cancer, someone that they know, if not themselves.
It is one of those things that affects us to the deep core. And you were talking about your diagnosis. 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
Oh, so you know.
And when you talked, like I had chills all over my body because that phone call is a call that changes your life. It is that call that you're going, wait, what? What just happened? Like, no, I just went for surgery. Like, you told me it was easy. Like, you told me you're going to take this thing out, nothing to it. He's like, yeah, I need you to come back. And you're going, say what? But it was that process of just having your life shifted, the rug pulled under you, and you're going, I'm sorry, what? So we're going to jump into this book because you have me on the edge of my seat and my heart goes out to you in so many different ways. But you have the biggest smile and you're passionate. And I think people should need to listen to us. When did you decide to write this book? Let's jump into that.
I went through 5 months of chemotherapy at Mayo Clinic, and it was brutal. I don't know how else to explain it, but still today, I feel all those treatments. I would start at 7 in the morning, sitting in a chair at Mayo, and finish at 5, roughly 5 o'clock at night. That's a long time to have chemo. It's a long time for anything, but let alone that. So having gone through all of that and then coming out the other side, being able to live, my main goal when I started, believe it or not, you have to set a goal to try and stay alive. I said, I really would like to attend my son's wedding, which was going to be September 23rd. I believe that was the date. I felt like if I could make it to the wedding, that means that I'd be alive. So that'd be a good thing. When I made it and was able to do that, it was the beginning of trying to recoup from the devastation of what I had gone through. Long before there was COVID, I stayed in my house for weeks on end. Couldn't touch grass, couldn't touch dirt, couldn't touch basically anything, limited to going out. So I guess I was well prepared for the COVID pandemic well before it ever happened. I took months off and I had to learn how to live again. Your focus is so much on the moment and the day and the next hour sometimes that it was really challenging. I had to learn to walk up small hills. I mean, these are, you wouldn't even consider them a hill, they're like an incline. It was very difficult for me to do that. Eventually, I got strong enough where Dr. Preek said, you can fly to Scottsdale and speak at this conference in January. There was about 500 leaders there. And so I spoke. I shared 30 minutes of The Power of Three, which is the name of the book, which is my message of hope, encouragement, and how to overcome any adversity. At the end, the people came up and formed a line, and they were mostly crying. And I thought, "Gee, did I do that bad of a job?" Then I was invited to speak at my graduating class at St. Olaf College in May. And I again did the same thing, spoke for 30 minutes on The Power of Three. And this guy who is a corridor roommate, Dr. Tom, who's head of USC orthopedic surgery, and he listened and he walked up afterwards. He's kind of a gruff guy, great guy, but a little gruff. And he was wiping tears from his face. And I said, "Dr. Tom, why are you crying? Was I that bad?" And he sat there and started laughing. He says, "No, Rob, this is a message you must share." He says, "It can help change lives." That gave me the final okay from the good Lord to go spend the time. But now I'd already written a book, had been out. I said, if I was going to do this, I wanted to have a major publisher. It's just too much work to do the other way. So that's what I did. Tyndale Publishing heard of my story, called me. They ended up taking the book, and so now it's worldwide being distributed, and that's how the book got going, to address, I think, a need that everyone has, and that is simply this: 100% of every person listening today will, if not right now, face adversity, some small, some large, but they will face it. And we all do. It's part of life. It's also, if you come from a Christian perspective, it's part of life. We're told we're going to have adversity, but it's how we respond to it that's the most important. I wrote from that perspective, and something I had taught to all these business people, The Power of Three.
What is the power of three? Because you keep hinting at it and you still haven't told us. What is the power? Or do we need to read the book? That's okay.
No,
Just tell
no,
us.
no. The Power of Three is real simple. There's a lot of latent things below it, but when adversity hits you, begin by asking the right questions. Now, in the book, I teach and I have worksheets on how to do that. There's three different types of, we call dip questions. But if you don't start with the right question, you're going to be in trouble. So you should not be asking why questions. For instance, when I was sitting there in my office overlooking, which I wrote about, the Martian, the doctor calls and he says, "You have a large mass in your abdomen. That's cancer." And they didn't know the severity of it. So I went to Mayo. The first question that came to me, I mean, I admit it, was why? Why, Lord, me? Well, why is this happening? I'm working hard. I'm doing good things, you know, but it's a bad question to ask. Why questions make you a victim, allow your emotions to run wild, and cause poor decision making, and do not help you move forward. Usually, there's no question. Why can't be answered. It's like, why did my mom die at an early age, or my dad, or why did my kid go rogue? Why is my boss such a jerk? Or whatever the case would be. So why is not a good question. So the fundamental part is begin by asking the right questions. Number two of the Power of Three is activate. The sooner we learn to understand and know ourselves and our God-given gifts and talents, the better off we're going to be. Because now we can take our God-given talents, which come naturally to us, and activate them in a tough situation. And I did just that. I knew that I had a competitive spirit within me to fight back, to try to win. And in this case, it was winning so I could live. And so I used that resolve. And I also used just generally an optimistic person. I try to look at the good in things and not dwell on the bad or the negative. And so I used some of those traits to help me. I was also a good decision maker. I could think about things, but all the power three allowed me to do that. Then the third part, which is advocate, be an advocate and become one. Connect with your faith, your family, and your friends. That really pulls it all together. For instance, a lot of people are so busy working, they don't have time for themselves anymore. They're running the treadmill and doing all the things that they do, or they may have lost their job and they're trying to figure things out. That's when you need people and you need your faith and you need to get back and connect with your family. Maybe it's your mom or dad, or maybe it's your brother. You haven't really talked. Well, we talk about, have worksheets and all this in the book of how to bring you through each step. And then I have a whole chapter on coaching, because if you want to become a better coach, a better leader, a better person, these are fundamentals. If you do these three things, you will be better off. You will be happier. You will be more successful in dealing with it, and you'll make far better decisions. And you're not going to have all the stress, because this takes care of a lot of those issues. That doesn't mean your circumstance necessarily is going to change immediately, but how you react to it, yes, that is important.
Okay, Mr. Robb, I have to ask if you did this on purpose, and I think you did. The power three all starts with A: ask, activate, allocate. I'm like, was that on
Advocate.
purpose?
Yes. Well, it was, because that's kind of what I had been teaching. And
Awesome.
I thought about it. I said, well, what I always teach is, when they come with a problem or a coaching issue or whatever, I always begin by asking good questions. And when I did that, there was such success and people got better so quickly. And when I was a leader, I used to be the CEO of a high-tech company. If you begin by asking questions, you can't go wrong, because you're there to learn and to listen. Both of those are extremely valuable to be a good friend, to build a good relationship, to build a good marriage, to be a good parent. Asking the right questions. You'll be a far better parent if you ask the right questions, rather than, Johnny, why'd you do that? Back to that why question, not good. But if you said, Johnny, what were you trying to accomplish when you did this? Or how is that impacting what's going on right now? Those are different kinds of questions that don't put people on the defensive, but they allow for truthful conversation.
I like how that simple shift completely changes the dynamics in that conversation. And it's amazing because
Oh,
once you said it, I was like, it didn't take much. It wasn't that difficult. But the whole dynamics just shifted. I'm like, oh wow, that does make a huge difference.
right. And that's what I teach in the book. Literally, over all these 25 years as being an expert in these areas that I have run in, I kind of developed this. It was instinctive to me, but it became very apparent that this quote, simple method worked. And it didn't just work for at business, it worked in home life. I wish I had known this sooner when I was raising three kids. I could have been a better parent. At least today, when I talk to the kids, I use this, and they don't even know it unless they want to read the book.
I love how you have taken something as traumatizing. Let's put it out there. Like anytime I said the word cancer to people, I got this look like, oh, you poor thing. And it was kind of one of those reminders that I'm sick, but I had to go back and tell them, I'm not dead yet. Please stop. Like, I don't
Yeah,
need the pity. Yeah. Let's not go there. And
right.
you have taken this, you have transformed it, and you have given it back to the world. How long did it take you to write this book?
Well, it took me about a year to write it. And then about another 6 months working with Tyndale to put it all together. And then they waited a little bit on the release, just a better time to release it. And so that's kind of how it's gone. And by the way, I will just say that so I wrote my first book was fun. It was great to do. But when you do it yourself, which is wonderful, I mean, if you have a message, you should do that. But it is a different realm working with a major publisher than working. I've loved working with Tyndale.
I'm so excited. I'm glad you had an amazing experience. And I'm so thrilled that your message is out there because everybody has to hear it. Do you have a specific audience? And we talked a little bit at the beginning. What is Tyndall's audience for this book? What is their market?
One of the reasons they, I think, wanted me to be their quote, next business type author or an author that wasn't just solely religious in that genre, because my audience has always been people, business people for the most part, because that's whom I believe that God called me to help. And so that's what I've done. They wanted someone that could speak to that audience. But what we have found, of course, it's not for that audience. It's for anybody that's going through adversity. And that happens to be everybody. And specifically, people know people that are going through a tough time health wise or relationship wise. This is like they say the perfect book for them because they're really struggling right now and it answers specific questions. In fact, I got a text a while back from a guy down in Alabama, and I'm here in Minnesota. To me, he said, I was struggling through COVID, and I was so depressed, I didn't know if I wanted to live. And he said, this guy gave me your book. I read it and it totally changed me. He said, I'm now on my second read, taking notes. And he says, you have truly helped change my life.
Okay, you can't get any better than that. Those are the
No, I
messages that
mean,
you go in, oh my Lord, really?
yeah, and that's the purpose of it. And it won't do the same, I'm sure, for everybody, because we're all different spots, but it does provide, I think, a simple format that anybody can learn, use, do. And there are, workshop questions at the end of each, chapter and worksheets, etc. And it's interwoven within my journey of starting and not supposed to live to being able to be here today to share the good news, the message that there is hope for everybody, regardless.
You have taken, and I've heard this phrase so many times, and it just touches my soul, but you're living proof. You're taking a test and made it into a testimony and have made it such a visual, powerful testimony. Because at the end of the day, you're still living your life with grace and you're showing people that, hey, bad things can happen to good people, but you can make the most of it. So I'm just like, yes, thank you, Mr. Robb. I love it.
Well, thank you. And I will have to say one other small blessing that's come out of this is Amazon seems to kind of run the world in the book world today. And I'm not saying that negative or positive, but it's just how it's gone.
They run everything, you know that.
Yeah. And Target is a Minneapolis-based company, and they're a fan of the book. And they are competing hard against Amazon. So this is a beautiful hardcover book, and they're selling it for roughly $12 now and competing. There's no way that you'd get that price if Amazon didn't have a strong competitor, but Target is beating them.
Oh my God. I'm
So,
going to stop on my Target just to go look for it. I'm like,
so you
that is
go
awesome.
Target online is where you get that, and of course Amazon, which is obviously online. I find that fun to see that the message then can get out more, because for $12, I mean, that's a couple lattes. If you go to
It is.
Starbucks or someplace like that, the message of hope is so needed today.
It is needed, and you have pretty much brought it to life in a whole different dimension. It is a message that everybody can relate. I agreed. There's not a demographic, So while they were looking for one because it makes it easier for marketing, this book can touch anybody. So I am so thrilled.
Yes. Thank you. And by the way, love what you're doing with your your ministry here, letting authors come in, speak, talk. Some will be new, some will maybe a little further along, but it's still good because people want to get better. Just go read someone's work on it. They probably spent a long time with this. So why not get the best of what they've experienced and to do? And if people want to know more about the journey, the author page is ROBB. Robb happens to be spelled with two B's. My mother did that to me. Robb Hiller, HILLER.com. So RobbHiller.com is the author page, and it has some blogs in it and pictures of me, with no hair and sitting on the hospital bed, and then the victorious being able to come back. And I just had my last checkup. Mayo Clinic says I have no cancer.
Amen. That is beautiful.
We rejoice in being able to be here.
Absolutely. Oh, that is the best news ever. I was going to ask you where we can find you, but you have done that for us, which is amazing. So tell me, are you working on anything new right now?
Well, Tyndale, I have a second book that comes out in late August called Running with Joy. And it's about my dog, Bentley, and some leadership principles and just living principles when you can, even better discover your purpose. It's a joyous book. Just think of Running with Joy. I think they're releasing it late August. So that's a follow-up book.
Ooh, congratulations and exciting. So for all of our listeners, you're looking for back-to-back excitement for Mr. Robb. Hey, this is awesome because you have the first one, and by the time you get ready, the second one will be out.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It is exciting to see your transition to a stage that you're at peace with everything you're doing and you're sharing it with the world. That is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. And bless you and your listeners in whatever they're going through. Know that there is hope, encouragement if we apply the power of three, which is a triangle. By the way, the triangle is the strongest geometric shape known to man. It's in pyramids, it's in trusses, homes, it's in the what joists that you walk in. They're all made with triangles. And of course, if you're from the Christian faith standpoint, the triangle is the Trinity. So there is something more even to the imagery than what I came up with. But apparently someone thought about that long, long before me.
That is a beautiful visual. I was like, yeah, that is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That is beautiful.
Yes.
So, Mr. Robb, it has been a pleasure. But before we go, I want to transition us to our lightning round if you're ready to play.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. Don't think too much about these. Let's see how you do. Ready?
Okay.
Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi.
Nice. Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Okay. Let's see about this one. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Wars.
Really?
Our wars.
Nice. Favorite place to write?
Out on my front porch.
I like. Here is the last one. Let's see how this one transitioned. If you had a warning label, what would it be?
Don't take yourself too seriously. Find joy in whatever circumstance you're in.
That is beautiful. Awesome. Robb, we have come to the end. I am so, so thankful that you come and join us, that you have been here with us. Do you have any closing remarks for us?
No, I just know that anyone that is listening, I hope that you will view this, regardless of where you come from, as what we would call GP, God prompting. There's a reason that you're listening today, and that there's something here for you. I don't know what that is, but I hope that you take that and will listen to it and get the message in the book. Because if you work through it some, it will bring you to a different place. It'll be like me coaching you just through a book.
Oh, our listeners, please go ahead, pick up this incredible journey, this incredible good book of transformation that we all need. Literally on my list of books to check out, because I'm all about these kind of messages, and the fact that I have an opportunity to meet you is even better. Thank you for joining us. It is truly a pleasure. To our listeners, go ahead, give us a like, share this episode with all of your friends, invite people to join our communities. We're always better when we grow together. And I will see you again next week for another exciting author. Bye, everyone.